Morning in progress.
Toia mai e te ao mai. Te ara hauora, te ara huma. Ia mātou I tēnei hui. A tia kina mai mo te haumaru o te tangata. A kōrero mai mo te haumaru o tēnei tangata. Ko rangi nui e tui honei ko papatuanuku e takato nei a tēnā kōrero. I te whare e tui nei te korowai o tēnei kaupapa a tēnā. A e ngā mate tua tini e ngā mate rau āriki haere atu. Ka huri ki te hunga ora, ki rongi a tātou, a tēnā tātou. Ka huri ki te mana whenua o tēnei rohi a kāti māmoe, me waitaha, me kaitahu hoki. A tēnei to me, a tēnei to me, a tēnei to me. Ka huri ki te haukainga o tēnei rohe, Wānaka me Upper Clutha, me Hāwea, me Luggett, me Makaora. A tēnei to me, a tēnei to me, tēnei to me. Ka huri ki a koe te rangatira, a John. Tēnei to me. Tēnei te marahi ki a koe I te rangatira a Quentin. A tēnei to me. Ka huri ki a tātou, a tēnei to me. O tira, he karakia whakatuwhera I tēnei ahiari. A tūtawa mai I roka, a tūtawa mai I rau, a tūtawa mai I roto, a tūtawa mai I waho. Kia tau ai te mauri tū, te mauri ora, a ki te katoa, haumi e hui e.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Anne. Acknowledging visitors who've come to celebrate the inaugural meeting of the Upper Clutha Community Board. And it's my great pleasure to be here to lead the reins on that and then hand over to the board subsequently. Just to note, the meeting is being recorded and will be posted live on the QRDC website and YouTube. And that for anyone that's visiting, feel free to take any photographs or recordings as we go along. So, and just in context of a community board, what a great thing. We're local government and the community board is the very much local element of that in this area. So it's a great thing to be part of. Attendance and apologies. We haven't received any apologies. Is there any apologies to be offered? No. So now we're going to move on to the first item on the order paper, which is the official swearing in of Nicky Gladdy to become councillor. So, and then we'll move on to the individual declarations for community board members. So it's kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
I, Wānaka-Upper, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interests of the Queenstown Lakes District powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as councillor of the Queenstown Lakes District Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, or any other act.
Sign on the line.
I, Catherine Ndito, declare that I will faithfully and impartially, and according to the best of my skill and judgment, execute and perform in the best interests of the Wānaka-Upper Community Ward of the Queenstown Lakes District, the powers, authorities, and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Wānaka-Upper Clutha Community Board by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, or any other act. Thank you, Rick.
We're going to come back to your next on the list for your swearing. This whole call.
Okay. I, Nicolette Wānaka-Upper, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interests of the Wānaka-Upper Clutha Ward of the Queenstown Lakes District the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Wānaka-Upper Clutha Community Board by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, or any other act. And beer.
Congratulations again.
I, Christopher Keith Hadfield, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interests of the Wānaka-Upper Clutha Ward of the Queenstown Lakes District the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Wānaka-Upper Clutha Community Board by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, or any other act. Thank you. Sorry.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Nicola.
I, Nicola Gillian King, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interests of the Wānaka-Upper Clutha Ward of the Queenstown Lakes District the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Wānaka-Upper Clutha Community Board by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, or any other act.
I, Simon Anthony Telford, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interests of the Wānaka-Upper Clutha Ward of the Queenstown Lakes District the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Wānaka-Upper Clutha Community Board by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, or any other act.
Congratulations. Cody.
I, Cody Ross Tucker, declare that I will faithfully and impartially, according to the best of my skill and judgment, execute and perform in the best interests of the Wānaka-Upper Clutha Ward of the Queenstown Lakes District the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Wānaka-Upper Clutha Community Board by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, or any other act.
Last. I, John Aaron Sebastian Wellington, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interests of the Wānaka-Upper Clutha ward of the Queenstown Lakes District the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Wānaka-Upper Clutha Community Board by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Informations and Meetings Act 1987, or any other act.
Congratulations. I'd now like to invite Queenstown Lakes District Council's Legal Counsel, Mr. Brendan Peake, to provide a general overview of the laws governing local government.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, Chair and Community Board members. Part of my role is to run you through the key laws that are going to come into play in your roles on the Community Board. So it's just an outline of the legislation. Looking around, I know some of you have seen it before and even just last week. It's not intended to be exhausted, it's just so that you know that they exist. There's an induction program coming up where it runs through the relevant parts of them. So this is really just a heads up that we do at the first meeting. In terms of the types of laws that are relevant, there's the laws about the establishment of QLDC, what its role is, what its job is, what powers it has, who the decision makers at QLDC are, and things like conflicts of interest. There's also some quite important laws that will come to bear on the council and the community board's role, planning and development, information laws around access to council information and also privacy, laws around land, especially council reserves, and laws around the council finances. So there's also a number of laws around regulating activities that are quite important to the council and to the community board for alcohol, drugs, traffic and parking, lakes and waterways, and freedom camping, which hopefully has been put to bed for a little while, but let's see about that. There's also some law reforms on the way and some that have just recently come in. This is the water services legislation and the CCO that goes with that. The local government systems improvements bill is currently in train and there's a report due back shortly. That's going to change a few things around purpose of local government and some of the processes that the local government goes through. The report's due back in later this month, so that'll be something on the radar very quickly. There's the fast track projects legislation, which is happening now. Decision recently around one of the applications, and there's quite a few more that are happening at the moment or have just been referred. There's also Resource Management Act reform, which has been flagged, which we're all eagerly waiting for. So in terms of the actual piece of the legislation, the key piece of legislation for QLDC is the Local Government Act 2002. It talks about the establishment of QLDC, what its job is, what the powers are, the decision-making processes, particularly the ones around community consultation, also the role of the community board in particular, and the powers that it has, and the decision makers for the council. Also talks about duties, conflicts of interest, and liability of members. There's two local government acts. One's the 2002 Act, which is the main one. The 1974 Act is still in force, but the only time we really have to look at that is around roading these days most of the time. So that's something that still comes up every now and then. Some of the key responsibilities under the Local Government Act is, of course, the annual plan and the long-term plan. and in terms of council and community board members, the pecuniary interests register laws have been in place for a couple of years now. Requires an annual return, first one due I think 120 days after the commencement, and then February every year. It is actually an offence not to comply, so it needs to be taken seriously. In terms of financial interests, there's a few pieces of legislation. There's the Local Authority Members Interest Act 1968, which essentially has a regime for stopping council members from participating in decisions where they have a pecuniary interest. If they're, for example, a member of a company that's entering into a contract for more than $25,000, then they're disqualified and can't participate in the discussions or vote around that. There's also bribery and corruption laws that apply, as you'd expect, for sort of public service. Secret commissions, so it's the Crimes Act and the Secret Commissions Act that relate to those things. There's the normal insider trading and market manipulation rules under the Financial Markets Conduct Act. You wouldn't think that insider trading would be relevant that often in this context, but it can be, particularly around some of the really big decisions that are made. So that needs to be taken into account. In terms of non-pecuniary interests, things like personal relationships, it's the outstanding orders of council that govern those and require disclosure and non-participation as a result of that. In terms of planning and development and construction, the two main pieces of legislation that come to bear are the Resource Management Act and the Building Act, and they cover the planning and development activities and also building consents. Information, the two main pieces of legislation are the Local Government Information and Meetings Act 1987 and the Privacy Act 2020. So as a general rule, all council information is available and people can apply to get it. So the information that you're dealing with is generally available. In order for it to be withheld, there has to be specific withholding grounds, things like legal privilege, protection of people's personal information, sometimes confidentiality if council is involved in a commercial negotiation and will get prejudiced if the information leaks out, that sort of thing. In terms of privacy, it's the same sort of regime that you'd expect from most organisations. Council has a privacy policy, has a privacy incident management system. If you concerned about any breach of privacy, there's a process to go through to make sure that it gets flagged, triaged and dealt with, and if necessary, reported if there is a breach. In relation to the land, there's a bunch of pieces of legislation: Reserves Act, Property Law Act, Land Transfer Act. Where it really most often comes to bear on council is in relation to council reserves and the different types of council reserves that we have. There is freehold land as well. But most of the time it's going to be reserves that we're dealing with. In terms of finances, Local Government Rating Act and Local Government Act itself talks about rates, development contributions, and accountability and audit, which are also dealt with in some of the more general public service pieces of legislation. Also some specific activities, some that you get involved in. Alcohol is the Sale and Supply of Alcohol Act, dogs under the Dog Control Act, traffic and parking under the Land Transport Act, lakes and waterways under the Maritime Transport Act, and freedom camping under the Freedom Camping Act. And most of those pieces of legislation translate into a bylaw that the council will have in place to regulate those activities. Just quickly, in relation to some of the reforms, I've kind of already mentioned them. Water services reforms in place now and is happening. The processes for setting up the CCO are underway. The Local Government Systems Improvements Bill is something in the next few months. We're going to find out more about that. We have to stay tuned for the RMA reforms, but they're certainly flagged. And an important one that we're paying close attention to, but the details still getting worked out, it is around development levies as opposed to development contributions and how council can fund using those. So that's the very quick run through the legislation, and thank you very much for paying attention.
Thanks, Brendan.
Thanks. So just to record, thanks to Mr. Peake for that helpful overview. And the item on the order paper is that the briefing on legal responsibilities be noted. So would somebody like to move that?
Move.
So Gladding, and somebody to second that. Yeah, John. Thank you, John. So I'll put the motion to the table that the legal briefing on legal responsibilities be noted. So those for the motion, and those against, that is carried. So I'd now like to ask the community board members to elect a chairman. And do we have a name of somebody that you would like to propose as your chairman?
I'll propose Simon Telford.
You have anybody?
John.
Second by John. Okay, and so so then we will take a vote that Simon Telford be elected as the chairperson of the Wānaka-Upper Clutha Community Board. Those for, say aye.
Aye.
Any against? That is unanimously carried. So congratulations, Simon. And I'm now going to hand over all the responsibilities for the rest of the meeting to the newly elected chair.
But that wasn't the pinnacle of your mayorship, John.
That's it.
Thank you, elected members, colleagues, for having the faith in me to lead the board again for another 3-year term. Very excited so far for the collegiality and the progressiveness and the way that we've been working together. So very comfortable that will continue for the rest of the term. My first role is to then have a nomination for the role of deputy chairperson of the community board. So anyone like to suggest a name? Nikki?
I'd like to nominate Kathy.
Kathy Dido. Do we have a seconder for that? Thank you, Cody. Very good. So I will then move the motion that Kathy Dido be elected as deputy chairperson for the Wānaka-Upper Clutha Community Board. All those in favour? Aye. Anyone against? Carried. Congratulations, Catherine. Be nice if you were clapped a little bit louder for you there, Catherine. We'll work on that as a team now. Item 4 on the agenda is the first ordinary meeting of the Upper Clutha Community Board. I will move that the first ordinary meeting of our board take place on Tuesday the 16th of December. We'll do that at 10 AM at Whare Mahana in Luggett. I'll put that motion. Would anyone like to second? I don't know what we need to second. Anyone like to second this? Kathy seconding that. All those in favour? Anyone against? So that's our first meeting. Look forward to reconvening again on the 16th of December. So thank you for everyone who's turned up. Thank you, Sue, for your constant attendance, part of the Wānaka app. Thank you for the ELT. It has been noted there. I see Ken lurking in the background. Ken, maybe you can sit in the front next time. And always in behind the scenes, isn't he? So thank you, Ken, and thank you to Phil and family for coming along and supporting Kathy and the team as well. Anne, would you like to close our meeting with a karakia mutanga?
It's tuatai. Ia koe te rangatira a Simon, he whakanuia I tēnei rā, uti rā, me hoki ki a koe e Kathy. He karakia whakakapi I tēnei ahi. Kia tau tō rangi Māori e ki ngā tangata o tēnei hui, kia tau tō rangi Māori e ki ngā tangata o tēnei rohi, Wānaka, me hawe, me whakatupu ai Māori, a tihei, a Māori ora. Kia ora.
Thank you, Mike, for coming over. Thank you, John, for your role in the proceedings. Looking forward to a really successful term, the community board. I will declare the meeting closed at 1:26. Ask for the recording to conclude there, and welcome everyone to stay. We know this is why you came over for this. Welcome to stay for sausage rolls and New World cheap dessert biscuit things, and a little bit of kororo for the next half an hour. So you're welcome to come and stay. So kia ora, thank you.